Hey, I'm Carl Azus, explaining world news for CNN10. Welcome to our first show of the week. There's a lot going on right now in the Asian island country of Japan. The nation held snap or early elections yesterday. They were originally scheduled for next year, but Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe called for them to be held now because he was doing well again in opinion polls. His numbers had dropped as the government grappled with a pair of corruption scandals linked to the prime minister, though he's repeatedly denied being involved. But they ticked back up again recently, and analysts say Prime Minister Abe wanted to take advantage of that and to get more support for his tough stance against North Korea. That nation has fired 2 ballistic missiles over Japan recently. And it's not the only challenge Japan is facing. Typhoon Lan was bearing down on the country last night. It was expected to make landfall along Japan's southern coast. Its wind speeds were 134 miles per hour on Sunday, making the typhoon the equivalent of a powerful Category 4 hurricane. And though Typhoon Lan was weakening as it approached Japan, it was so large that the clouds around it extended farther than the borders of the whole country. Dangerous winds, flooding, mudslides, and damage in the Japanese capital of Tokyo were all possible. 10-second trivia. Which living former U.S. president is the oldest? George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, Jimmy Carter, or Bill Clinton? George H.W. Bush was born more than 3 months before Jimmy Carter, making him the oldest living U.S. president, even though his term was later than Carter's. They were both born in 1924, which means that at a weekend concert to benefit people in need, where all living U.S. presidents made an appearance, there were 2 American leaders who were 93 years old. Former Presidents George H.W. Bush and Jimmy Carter were joined in person by George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, and Barack Obama. And current President Donald Trump appeared in a video message to concertgoers.
Heartbreaking as the tragedies that took place here in Texas and in Florida, in Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands have been, what we've also seen is the spirit of America at its best.
As a nation, we mourn for those who died, and we pray for those who lost their homes or their livelihoods. In the aftermath of these terrible storms, the American people have done what we do best. We came together, we helped one another, and through it all, we remain resilient.
You heard them say the tragedies and these storms. The event was named Deep from the Heart, the One America Appeal. And its goal was to raise money and assistance for the victims of hurricanes Harvey, Irma, and Maria. Stars like Lee Greenwood, Yolanda Adams, and Lady Gaga were there. And as of Saturday night, when the concert was held at Texas A&M University, the charity effort had raised $31 million from more than 80,000 donors. Where will the money go? To organizations in Florida, Texas, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. What are the needs like? Here's a look at the line of people that formed last week in Texas. They were waiting for food assistance. Hurricane Harvey struck that state on August 25th. Here are some of the thousands who waited in a similar line on Saturday, also seeking food assistance, also victims of a hurricane, that one named Irma, which made landfall in Florida on September 10th. And on the U.S. Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, Hurricane Maria hit on September 20th and knocked out electricity to the whole island. More than 4 weeks later, 21% of Puerto Rico's power has been restored. That means 3 million people there still don't have it. And about a third of Puerto Ricans don't have safe drinking water yet.
This schoolyard should be bustling with activity at the height of the fall semester. Not today. Not since Hurricane Maria threatened and later devastated Puerto Rico. Like the island's other 1,100 public schools, the doors to this high school have been closed since September 18th. Today, the only signs of life are on the other end of the campus. Room 204 serves as Margarita Cosme Fuentes' temporary home. This 52-year-old grandmother of 11 tells me, from one moment to another, she lost her house and everything in it. Her grandson, Ezequiel, led us up the mountainside to show us what's left of his family's homes. There isn't much else he can do these days. Like most of the students on this island, a return to class may provide a welcome escape from reality. He says the first thing he'll do when he gets back to class is hug his friends, but he doesn't know when that will be. As long as displaced families like his are using schools as shelters, classes can't resume. The Department of Education announced Friday that some schools on the island would reopen on Tuesday, but the teachers at this school say that won't happen here. We have a lot of work to do, says Roxana Miranda, a drama teacher anxious to welcome her high schoolers back to class. While there is optimism, there is no real timeline for when students will walk down these halls again. Even if displaced families are resettled, there are still plenty of obstacles. Classrooms are in disrepair, roads are nearly impassable because of mudslides, and there is still no running water in the town, leaving families to struggle to survive. Margarita says she is staying strong and wants to see her grandchildren back in a classroom, just not this one. Polo Sandoval, CNN, Corozal, Puerto Rico.
Reporting on California's wildfires, we told you how they've been the deadliest in the state's recorded history. They now hold the record for being the most destructive. 245,000 acres have burned. That's a total space larger than the area of San Diego, California, Memphis, Tennessee, or New York City. 8,400 buildings have been destroyed. 42 lives have been lost, according to CAL FIRE. 10,000 firefighters are still involved in the fight. They've made progress containing many of the blazes. That doesn't mean they're out. It means they've been surrounded by fire breaks. The threat to the state remains.
More than a dozen wildfires continue to burn across areas of California, the majority of them in the northern half of the state. The key thing to note is that it's been burning in the northern half of the state for quite some time. In fact, when you take a look at the top 20 most destructive wildfires in California's history, 4 of them have been in just this past month, and several of them are still burning across areas of Northern California. But the focus moving forward actually shifts from Northern California to Southern California, where we start to expect those Santa Ana winds to begin to increase that fire threat. So you'll notice across areas of Southern California, we have both elevated and critical fire threats for at least the next several days. This high pressure that has built over areas of the Southwest is what's going to help push that very hot, dry air over the Santa Ana Mountains and into some of those valley locations, including the city of Los Angeles. Because of that, you're going to be experiencing those strong winds, but also incredibly hot temperatures. We have excessive heat warnings out for much of this area and excessive heat watches just a little bit further to the north of Los Angeles, not just for one day, but for multiple days. Take a look at some of these temperatures. Los Angeles, for example, 78 degrees is the average high temperature. We'll be in the 90s today and triple digits for both Monday and Tuesday, both of which, by the way, could potentially end up being record highs for that city. And they're not alone, but Los Angeles becomes the bigger story because of the big event that is taking place on Tuesday, the start of the World Series. Here's the thing, the forecast for Tuesday shows a high of 100 degrees. If we end up getting that warm, this could end up being the hottest game in World Series history.
Despite winning a public poll last year, the name Boaty McBoatface was not applied to a British research ship. Officials used that for one of its submersibles instead. But a Swedish transportation company honored its public's wishes when they voted to name this Trainee McTrainface. Officials even put a sweet face on it to match its sweet new name. They say Trainee McTrainface got 49% of the public vote, the biggest slice of the pie. It's a good thing that vote didn't go off the rails, y'all. Many fans of Boaty McBoatface were sunk. So when some took rolling stock of the Swedish vote, got on track and locomotivated to train their efforts on car going the distance, the result was a shoe-in to station Trainee McTrainface in the rail yard. I'm Carl Azouz.